So this is an episode, hopefully the first of a series, which is not based on any other thing. There's definitely nothing that I'm basing this. Uh, Plagiarism is my best trait. In this episode, okay. To talk more about the episode itself, it's like a song analysis thingy where I look at a song and I analyze the song or series of songs. In this episode specifically, I will be doing a series of songs by a composer named TheManBeHisLa, and said series of songs is called the Heartless Tetralogy. Said tetralogy is made up of Control, The Honored One, Your Enemy, and finally For Tomorrow. All of these songs are based off of a show called Jujutsu Kaisen and follows 4 different characters within that show. Very, 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 very big spoiler warning. I will be going into things that happen after the show and like at the end of the show, so genuine spoiler warning. So, to talk more about the composer. TheManBeHisLa is an America-based composer who is currently sitting at about 70,000 subscribers and about that same amount of monthly listeners on Spotify. He began composing, genuinely starting around 3 years ago with a piece called The Drums of Liberation, which is currently sitting at around 4.4 million views. So, for the pieces themselves, what I'll do is I'll mention something that draws me to the song, something that I wish to point out, and just some stuff about the instrumentation. Okay, so for what draws me to the first song, Control, the instrumentation at the very beginning of the song is so good, in my opinion. It's like, it just gives this feeling of just sinisterness, and I love how it begins. I remember when I first heard the song, I was looking. So it was early in me watching or listening to this composer, and I was watching someone's reaction to his music, and I clicked on a reaction before I even saw the song, and when I heard the first few notes, I just swapped, clicked off the video, went to the actual video, and I don't think ever after that I really looked at the music through someone else first. I always went into his music, and now I do it with everything. I try to go into things as fresh as possible, and one of the reasons was that instrumentation. At least I feel. So, two things that I wish to point out. One main thing is TheManBeHisLa's vocal timbre. It's like heavy, dark. I don't know how to explain it, but his voice is very presenceful, kinda. It's like deep. I just mentioned it. Deeper, darker, heavier, and it's a voice that he uses very well for the villain, which is, I'm going to go into the history of the characters in a bit, but this is a villain for this song. The song is based on a villain, and he uses his voice very well to convey that. And another thing that I wish to point out is the chorus, which it has 3 throughout the song. The first one is at 1 minute and 15 seconds about. And it has a very catchy quality to it, and I would like you to remember, any listeners, to remember the motif and how it sounds.
The fires of humanity and smother the flames. Your face in a heartless beam. Let the devil in you take it apart of me. The pure malevolence is making destroy to this boy, you become the very thing that you had sworn to destroy. So bass in your heartless tune. Let the devil in, I'm taking a part of you. That's what malevolence is made of, your dark and new. You hear me rebel in your mind, it's your heart and soul, but I'm the one who's in control. For exposure and fun, so they can claim that they're the best, but there can only be one. Your face in a heartless beat. Let the devil in you, taking a part of me. The pure malevolence is making it hard to see. You hear me rebel in your mind, it's your heart and soul, but I'm the one who's in control, and your heartless too. Let the devil in, I'm taking a part of you. That's what malevolence is made of, your dark and new. You hear me rebel in your mind, it's your heart and soul, but I'm the one who's in control.
So, when it comes to the instrumentation of the piece, I believe that the song is in C minor and is using the harmonic scale. Essentially, I am at a piano to showcase some of what I was talking about the harmonic scales, because I felt like it would be better to explain with a piano. So, as you may know based on the snippet I showed, the melody for Control goes something like... So, that's sort of how it goes. And I was thinking what key that's in, and I landed on C minor, specifically C minor harmonic. Now, that is because there's like an anticruise, and then the first note, C. And so first note is C. And as I mentioned with that A flat, there are flats. And that same flat is reoccurring, making me think it's a part of this key signature. Now, what key starts on C, has a flat? Sorry, C minor. That is because C minor is the same as E flat major. E flat major being... Sorry. And so C minor is that, but down, like, I believe it's 3 steps, but I just go down a third. So that would be... Which, this still doesn't sound right with Control. Now, if you raise the 7th note, that being the B flat, if you raise that by the harmonic scale, the scale turns into something like... Which fits, because A flat, B, C, C, A flat, C. And so that just works with that, especially if you treat that first A flat and B as an anticruise. Now, you may be wondering about that E flat, and there's some stuff to support that E flat still being a part of it, and that is if you listen, because if you just play the melody line, even if you play it amongst 4 octaves, that E flat, it's not there. However, if you add some slight embellishments, not embellishments, but that's the E flat. So if you just play the melody line, E flat's not there, but the second you go into the embellishments, you need, or like the extra notes, you need that E flat, because if you don't have it, it would sound... Doesn't work without that E flat, which hence makes me think extra much so that this is indeed A in C flat minor. No, sorry. Anyway, C minor. No, it's anyway. So that's my reasoning for that one. So to speak of the next song, The Honored One. One of the things that just fully draws me to it is, I mean, the instrumentation again, but more specifically how it fits perfectly with, I don't know how to word it. It fits very, very perfectly with the vocals of the chorus, and also all of the vocals, but the chorus specifically with the vocals and like the effects on the vocals with the instrumentation. It just has like a very heavenly feeling, which, if you've seen the show and you know the character, fits perfectly.
Swag, I'm the center of the plane. From throughout all of earth and heaven, I stand alone as the honored one. I'm flying higher this cursed ascension, finding my heart and soul, 'cause I'm the one they can control.
So the specific thing that I would want to point out is just what I just mentioned, which is the instrumentals and how they interact with the vocals, specifically how the instrumentals have this divine quality to them, especially during the chorus, which is sung by someone named Jonald, I believe. Another thing that I want to point out is just after the first chorus at 1 minute and 16 seconds, there's a very interesting melody.
I'm facing a heartless beat. I keep the devil out 'cause he ain't on par with me. Back for a second round, I'm better, and that devil's on my level. In his dreams, so disheveled gets the devil if he's meddling with me. Look, it's pitiful.
So, as for the instrumentation of this piece, I believe it is in A minor using the harmonic scale. Hello, it is me at the piano once more. I definitely did not film this directly after the other one. So, this one is about the honored one. And this one took me less time because I had the whole minor system with the harmonics in my brain, because it is another harmonic minor, if I am correct. Now, this time, as I mentioned, I believe A minor, so A minor scale. And if you were to treat the tune like A minor, it just wouldn't work. Now, for a reminder of the tune. So that's the tune. If you were to treat it like normal A minor, it would be more so similar to. No. So that G sharp is the only difference between those two versions. And that difference is made if you use the harmonic scale, which raises the seventh, which is the G. So the harmonic scale, harmonic A minor scale would be. And with the song, at least I believe. So, I believe, due to all of that, I believe that this one is in the harmonic scale or mode of A minor. So, I wish that I was able to find the notes for Tomorrow and Your Enemy, but I got close a couple of times. Like, Your Enemy is in this area. It's in that area. I just don't know the exact notes. Like, whenever I sit down at the piano and listen to the piece, sometimes I get a few of the notes and I can get the melody, but it doesn't stick. And I mean, granted, I don't think I'm ever going to get it. I found the other two by chance. I was just messing around with the piano and I was just messing around. No, I was doing some slight theory homework before I understood theory, like a few years ago. I did not get it then, and I played it, and I incorrectly played a major scale as an A minor scale. Well, A major chord as an A minor chord. So, and that clicked, and so I just need that click for the other two. So yeah, that's, I believe, the end of my piano sequences. So, Your Enemy, the third song. What draws me to the song? TheManBeHisLa, the singers, composers, his flows and how he raps in the verse is absolutely, how he raps all the verses, but the first one is a phenomenal pre-hook is the way I worded it. A hook is like a chorus, and so it would have to be the flows and like how it feels.
Born from disorder and short, I'm just sort of a sword that we sort and get forward. The corpse is solely the soul and the glorious torment, a glorious ornament, cornered to score in this deadly performance. Organs are pouring from every orifice. More I want more, and the rest keep on mourning. And more I want more of the core, and I'm sure that I'll never get bored of it.
So, the specific thing that I would like to point out for this piece would be the cold and distant yet present feel to the instrumentation, and the vocals definitely, and how specifically there is a stark contrast between TheManBeHisLa's, as prior mentioned, deeper, darker vocal timbre, and Orcadia's like higher, smoother timbre. It's such a good like yin and yang of like dark, and it's still dark, but it's like just different. It's like deep versus cold. And Orcadia sings the chorus, the choruses and chorusi, and the intro, whilst TheManBeHisLa does like the verses and the bridge. And the Honored One had a similar, like the prior piece had a similar contrast to it, but I don't think it was on the level of this one. And as I mentioned for the other two, there is one other thing that I wish to point out, and that would be the just after the first chorus, once again, at about 1 minute and 51 seconds, there's an area that has a, let's just say, familiar melody to it.
Face in a heartless beam. You brought the devil back, now he gonna start a scene. So where's the shovels at? Who's better than me? Never leaving step to me. I sever cleave, I'm 7-3. I'm that this demon's ready for anything.
So, the fourth and final song for tomorrow. The thing that draws me to this song, I couldn't really distill it into one thing, but I attempted, and what I came out with is his voice during the rapping, similar to, like, Your Enemy. His voice during, like, the rapping and singing, as well as all of the vocal effects he puts on his voice during it, which sometimes gives it a slightly vocaloid-y sound.
With being dead in the crowd, and they're keen to see when I'm back to the fiends or devils about. So as long as my heart keeps beating, I'll beat him dead to the sound. King of the curses, defeat and sever his crown. And when I best him, looked at me and asked who's the better one now. For tomorrow, I'll stand strong until the sun will shine again. Drowned in sorrow, no tomorrow. Will this nightmare ever end? I keep trying, though I'm fighting. Those around me keep on dying. I'm done crying, I'll be someone who will be saving you from sin.
So, the specific thing that I wish to point out about for tomorrow would be that this is the only piece in this tetralogy. It is the only piece in this tetralogy, apart from the first one, that is a solo production. So, like, he is the only vocalist. He makes the production, like the instrumentation, all of that. And I'm using that to preface this next thing, which is similar to the contrast between his vocals and Orcadia's vocals in the prior piece. There is a constant contrast between the instrumentals, which are like higher in pitch, the bass, which is extremely present, and TheManBeHisLa with this deeper timbre, making it sound like three different distinct lines of sound, which all work together well. This is especially noticeable, in my opinion, due in part to the fact that this is a solo production and the whole piece is following just his voice. And as with everything else, there's one other thing that I wish to mention, and that would be just after the bridge, where there is this sort of half bridge, half verse thing which swaps to full verse, and at that swap of like the half bridge, half verse into the full verse, at around 3 minutes and 13 seconds, there is a section which once again has a very interesting, in my opinion, melody.
My meaning, so we'll see what it's even a heartless being when he's facing a beating heart. Faced with the devil, now I'm taking the scheme apart. I keep it level, been through malevolent house. It consumes you while you're just failing. You're doomed to fail as you balance the kuna shell as the vessel, but not back.
As for the instrumentation for this piece and the prior one, I believe they are in minor. I don't think they are major pieces. They don't sound it. Based on the other two pieces, that being Control and the Honored One, I'm guessing that they are in the harmonic mode. They're harmonic minor, but I honestly can't fully tell. I was unable to find the notes as prior mentioned. So, any observers or listeners of this may have noticed that I pointed out a specific thing in each of the 4 pieces, and that is that they all have the same motif at a certain point somewhere in the song, which always has something to do with a heartless being or something similar. This is how the Heartless Tetralogy gets its namesake, and it's something I really want to talk a bit about because I feel like it's an important thing for this overall tetralogy. But to do that, firstly, I must give some context and background for the show which the songs are based on. So, the show is called Jujutsu Kaisen, and essentially, you have the main character, Yuji Itadori, who eats a finger of a dead demon, Sukuna, which causes him to become a vessel for Sukuna. Yuji is then given the task to eat all of Sukuna's fingers, 20 in total, so that he can then be executed in order to get rid of Sukuna for good. Essentially, the fingers were too powerful to destroy. But if someone were to digest them and like become one with them, you could kill the person and get rid of them. Sukuna is the main villain. He is the king of curses, the strongest person in history, essentially. There's another character, Gojo, who is the strongest character of today and a mentor of Yuji. You have Yuji, who is the main character as prior mentioned, and then for the purpose of this episode and the songs at hand, I'll only mention one more, which is Mahito. Mahito is a being made up of all the negative emotions people harbor towards each other. And essentially in the show, if enough people have a negative emotion towards something, that can materialize. It can form a creature, it can form a being. Mahito is one made up of people's fears and negative emotions towards other humans. And he is the antithesis of the main character, and they are like perfect counters in like most ways within the show. And another thing that I should mention is that Sukuna and Mahito are pure evil, whilst Yuji and Gojo are good. And I personally believe that Sukuna and Gojo is a parallel with Mahito and Yuji. So you have that duo, Gojo Sukuna, villain hero, and Mahito and Yuji. I personally think they are parallels of each other. Now, with all of that out of the way, I am going to talk a bit about the motif itself. In Control, the melodic motif is both created in and used the most in. So it's used 3 to 4 different times because there are 3 choruses. Something I actually really like about it is the first chorus in the song is one thing, second chorus is another thing, and then the third chorus is the combination of both. And so the first chorus is at about 1 minute 14 seconds, second is about 2 minutes 22 seconds, third is about 3 minutes and 11 seconds. So here are the choruses.
Fires of humanity and smother the flames. Your face in a heartless beam. Let the devil in you taking a part of me. The pure malevolence is making it hard to see. You hear me rebel in your mind. destroy to this boy, you become the very thing that you had sworn to destroy. So base in your heartless tomb. Let the devil in, I'm taking a part of you. That's what malevolence is made of, your dark and new. You hear me rebel in your mind, it's your heart and soul, but I'm the one who's in control. For exposure and fun, so they can claim that they're the best, but there can only be one. Your face in a heartless beam. Let the devil in, you taking a part of me. Your malevolence is making it hard to see. You hear me rebel in your mind, it's your heart and soul, but I'm the one who's in control, and your heartless too. Let the devil in, I'm taking a part of you. That's what malevolence is made of, your dark and new. You hear me rebel in your mind, it's your heart and soul, but I'm the one who's in control.
So, I really like this chorus for a couple of reasons. One of which being that we get multiple versions which say slightly different things. And to talk about said different things, the first one talks about how Yuji let Sukuna in and how Yuji is powerless. The second seems to be how Yuji isn't good and Yuji is similar to Sukuna, and when put together, it's basically like I'm in control and you're a bad person. And if you've seen the show, you know that Yuji is basically just pure good, but the lyrics still work because in the show, Sukuna always just tries to basically convince Yuji that he is a really, really bad person that does not deserve any place in the world, and like that's his entire goal for like no reason. So it fits really, really well. The Honored one, it's not a chorus, nor with any of the other ones, but here it is.
I'm the one they can't control.
I'm facing a heartless being. I keep the devil out cause he ain't on par with me. Like for a second round I'm better and that devil's on my level in his dreams. So disheveled gets the devil if he's meddling with me. Look,
So this one has to do with how Gojo ends up fighting Sukuna, hence the I'm facing, but something I want to point out is the hubris within some of the words, specifically about how he talks about Sukuna not being on par with him, and other such things. This fits the character very well within the show, due to him being his character is being the strongest. It's like his character was built around that idea, and which leads to him having a god complex. So, here is the third installment, Your Enemy, motif.
facing a heartless being. You brought the devil back, now he gonna start a scene. So where's the shovels? Who's better than me? Never leaving step to me. I sever cleave, I'm 7-3. I'm that this demon's ready for anything.
This one is semi-similar to Control with the referencing to oneself as a heartless being. And for bringing the devil back, gonna start a scene and where the shovel's at, I imagine that is referring to an incident within the show where Sukuna takes control of Yuji and commits mass murder. So, the fourth and final installment, I have a lot more to say about this one than the prior two, so just here's the section.
He is my meaning, so we'll see what is even a heartless being when he's facing a beating heart. Faced with the devil, now I'm taking the scheme apart. I keep it level, been through malevolent house. It consumes you while you're just failing. You're doomed to fail as you balance the Kuna shell as the vessel, but not back.
In my personal opinion, apart from Control, for Tomorrow is the most deep when it comes to the motif. Immediately, we see the Heartless being lyrics come back, but this time it's saying, what is one when they're facing me, essentially. And I will speak more on that in a second, but after that, we see the lyrics, faced with the devil now I'm taking the scheme apart, which is quite the neat lyric, in my opinion, due to it being the finale of the Heartless trilogy, and the song basically referencing that. There's also that the devil that is in the visuals of the song at that moment is Sukuna, whose song was the originator of the scheme, the motif, and the first one, which both helps those lyrics also be a declaration of victory for the main character against the villain, and also the prior mentioned referencing of this being the finale that also works, because, you know, the main villain created the motif, the main character defeats the villain and defeats the motif, ending it there. So I mentioned but a moment ago how I would speak about the "they're facing me" idea, and to speak more on that, I need to mention all of the uses of the motif. I mentioned earlier how Gojo and Sukuna act as a parallel for Yuji and Mahito. I mentioned this once more due to the order of the songs released, which is to use the character names Sukuna, Gojo, Mahito, and Yuji. They are villain with their respective hero in a 2x2 form. So, Gojo Sukuna 2 times 2, which is Mahito and Yuji. And now let's look at some of the lyrics in each of these. For Sukuna, you have "you're facing a heartless being." For Gojo, you have "I'm facing a heartless being." Then jump to the next 2 in that 2x2. Mahito says "facing a heartless being." Yuji says "you're facing a beating heart." I mentioned this because, spoilers, the winners of each group's respective fights were Sukuna for the Sukuna vs. Gojo and Yuji for the Mahito vs. Yuji, and then Yuji beat Sukuna at the end of the series. I bring this up in relation to the lyrics because you have Sukuna and Mahito both saying "I'm heartless, you're facing me." But on the side of good, Gojo says "I'm facing you," whilst Yuji says "you're facing me," with Gojo losing his match and Yuji winning his. I find this to be really neat, due in part to it being a nice reflection of the show. So, I can only get so much from analyzing, especially just... Yeah, I'm not the best analyzer. I can only get so much. So here is an interview I had with the artist TheManBeHisLa, where in said interview I ask about some of this stuff as well as things that have nothing to do with the Tetralogy. So I hopefully you enjoy that. And here it is.
Bro, they changed the Discord ringtone? Now it's all spooky.
They have changed a lot of the sounds. I have noticed a lot more spookiness.
Yeah, I didn't even realize. Okay, does my microphone sound okay?
Yes, and I was about to ask
Perfect.
the same thing. Does mine sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
So, first of all, thank you so much for having this interview with me.
Of course. I am so sorry that I'm like 3 hours late. Like, universe is plotting against me, I swear. Okay, ManBeHisLa on brand. Can't even show up for an interview on time. Screw that guy, for real.
I mean, based on your track record, normally if there is a delay, it means that good things will come of that delay. So hopefully that continues.
Hopefully.
So, firstly, would you like to introduce yourself to the interview or listeners, I suppose?
Sure. Okay. My name is Johnny TheManBeHisLa. I'm a silly YouTube music guy. I make songs about little cartoon characters every so often, like maybe like once a year or maybe twice a year sometimes. And yeah, that's basically it. That's pretty much the extent of it.
Fair enough. So, as I mentioned in my messages, I'm currently doing a project on the Heartless Tetralogy.
Perfect.
And one of the questions I had about the Heartless Tetralogy is, were you originally planning on having it be like this saga almost of songs, or was it just planned to be the Sukuna song, and then you made a Gojo with a reference, then and so forth?
The answer to that is no. I did not plan on that at all. When I made the Gojo song, from that point on, I was like, because once I made the Sukuna song, that was just like a standalone thing because I really like Sukuna and I wanted to make a Sukuna song. But when I was coming up with the idea of doing a Gojo song when season 2 came out, I was like, it'd be really cool if I did like the motif for Sukuna in the Gojo song, so then they'd be like a parallel. And then once I came up with that, I was like, well, now I got to do like, I got to carry that on to the other characters that I'll see throughout season 2, because I didn't read the manga up until that point. And then when Mahito had his moment, I was like, okay, yeah, this is the guy that I'm gonna do next, and then so on and so forth.
Alright.
So no, the answer to the question is no.
Okay. And about said motif, the facing a heartless being, something I noticed is, firstly, a bit of a side tangent. in the show itself, I've noticed that, Sukuna and Gojo are a kind of a parallel to Itadori and Mahito, at least to me. And I was wondering if, for the motif, I noticed in both the Sukuna and Mahito song, it was you're facing a heartless being. For Gojo, it was I'm facing a heartless being. For Itadori, it's you're facing a beating heart. And out of those four, or out of the two good guys there, Gojo and Itadori, one of them lost to their respective, counterpart, sort of. The other one didn't, and the one who didn't was saying, you're fighting me, not I'm fighting you. Was that at all purposeful?
You know what? Sure. I'm going to say that I did that on purpose, so that I sound a lot smarter than I actually am. Yes, I did do that on purpose. No, I did not. I mean, I think that's just like... I think I just got really lucky with the way that lined up, so then if people look into it, they'll be like, wow, what forethought that guy had. What a genius. But no, I mean, I went into it with Gojo being... Because I wanted it to be like the inverse of the Sukuna chorus. And then I wanted Mahito's to basically be the same, except slightly different, because he's also evil kill person. And then for Yuji, I wanted it to be like a complete subversion of everything that I did before it. And so that's why it's like structured differently. Because he is structured differently. Yuji's that guy.
Yeah. Okay, that is...
So,
yeah.
No, I also didn't plan that.
So, another question about the Tetralogy. Are you planning on adding more to it, excluding, your skibbity? Are you planning on adding any more?
Okay. Excluding brain rot covers.
Excluding yeah.
Okay. To the original Tetralogy, no. The Tetralogy of the Heartless Being saga ends at Yuji, because Yuji, ends the streak of that motif. But I am going to do more JJK songs, which will have their own motif, which you guys will see later once we get into the new JJK season and stuff.
Alrighty.
So, the Heartless Being saga ends at Yuji and is not going to be continued. But there will be more JJK stuff.
Alrighty. So, and another question I do have, not having to do with the Heartless Tetralogy, sort of, but it does play a part. I noticed it in the Itadori song. There is something in some of your pieces where your voice is distorted, but not. It's like techno distorted in almost a Vocaloid-y way. I was wondering, what were you inspired to do that? Did you find it that type of stuff with that
low-key,
distortion?
I can give you the exact reasoning. It's a mixture of my eternal love for Vocaloids and JT music. That's the fusion of those two inspirations.
Good to know.
Yeah, those are actually, just speaking as a whole for my channel, Vocaloids, JT music, Living Tombstone, mash those together with rapping, and that's just my style, because that's just what I just love the sound of those types of things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, similar to that, like you mentioned, the Living Tombstone Vocaloid.
Yeah.
How did you get into composition / any inspirations that you had for composition?
So, I guess this kind of just aligns with my how I started making music as a whole, because originally the story behind everything was I what was it, 2020, I think. I would make really stupid raps with my group of friends, and I just rap over anime type beats or whatever. So that wasn't really composing music. That was just me making silly stuff, and we did the Mr. Hippo rap from Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator. It was just really stupid stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I got into actually composing music. What was the first song I ever like made? Um, the first one that was worthwhile was Drums of Liberation, and then by some miracle that song did the thing that it did. So I kind of just made that, and I was like, you know what? We're gonna keep making these types of things, and then we ended up here. And that's pretty much the story.
I mean, it worked. Like, I honestly found your channel through Drums of Liberation.
Mm.
I was looking for the One Piece 4 Kids rap, and that showed up.
Damn, you set the bar way high. I don't know how you settled on watching that song. I'm nothing compared to the Four Kids One Piece intro. That thing's a banger.
But no, and also I will say it was also my first introduction to Nerdcore, which,
Really?
yeah, I never listened to like Nerdcore really before that.
That's crazy. I'm very honored to have been your first experience with Nerdcore.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, oh, well that fell. So I was wondering, how would you compare your current stuff, and that includes like For Tomorrow, with some of your older stuff, like from the era of like Control and the Sukuna rap and Drums of Liberation.
Okay, so in my head, how this works is my channel is broken up into like sagas in my head. This is like not like officially canonical or anything. This is just like how I organize them in my head. There's no like real rhyme or reason to it. It's just like how I've decided it, because they're split up into like different eras of my life and when I was making music. So the first generation is One Piece Villain Cipher all the way to Stronger Than a Table. None of those count. Those are all just like extra things that existed.
Yeah.
Or actually, no, Stronger Than a Table and Stronger Than a Table Frisk Edition, those are in their own little bubble, because I made those like 10 years ago. So there's the first two ciphers, which was just me messing around and being silly, goofy, whatever. And then Drums of Liberation was my first attempt at actually making a song. And so it was from that up until, I'd say, like Into the Fire, my Doflamingo song. Those exist in their own space. So I think that's like 5 or 6 songs.
Something, yeah.
Yeah. Those exist in like the first season in my head. And then from my Wither song, Entropy of Vengeance, all the way up until, I'd say, probably about my Alistair song. I'd say that's its own season, its own little bubble. And then, actually, no, I'm going to change that. I'm going to say my Aaron rap to Drums of Liberation is its own season. Then from my Law rap all the way to Alistair is its own season. Then from Yuji all the way up until Blackbeard is its own season, which I say that because I made that song at the end of last year, and I went into this year saying, okay, this year is going to be its own season of special things. Which, that's only 4 songs from last season, and then there's 4 songs this season, so it's not very much, but that's how I have them organized in my head.
It's interesting that you mention like the organization, because something that like my brain did, especially when Stolen Valor dropped. Like Stolen Valor did like that. Like the Stolen Valor, Ready Set Go, like Blackbeard Sung Jin Woo era, that did seem to be like a slightly different vibe than before. Like the Sung Jin Woo, the Jackpot, Never Enough, Show's Never Over. They seem like they don't. It's not like better or worse, but they do seem like more
experimental.
Yeah. Like, they're very, very, very unique. The other ones were, but, like, they're extra.
Yeah. I definitely, I 100% understand what you're saying, and that is very much intentional, because when I was making music all the way up until, I'd say, the balloon cipher, or the balloon cipher is its own thing, but it kind of caps at the balloon cipher. I was making music like in a style because I developed a style over the past 2 years up to that point, and then when I started Ready Set Go, I was like, okay, we're gonna make this like super duper rappy, and this is gonna be the style of this one. And we're gonna go into this with the style of it trying to form the song instead of the song being its own style and then everything confiding to that. I went into it being like, okay, I'm gonna make this specifically this way so it can fit this type of vibe that's different from everything that came before it. And so Sung Jin Woo was like super rappy, awesome, rappy stuff. And then Dante was like a completely different. I don't even know what to describe that song as, but it was like, it was Jackpot. That's what it was.
Jackpot. Yeah.
And Never Enough was sort of. It was sort of. That song was very special to me, and it's still like maybe my favorite song potentially. I don't know. Because that song is all. It's like stylistically a ManBeHisLa song, but I wanted to perfect a ManBeHisLa song stylistically as well as I could in one single song, which is what I did with Goku Black. And then my Tenna song was just something that was completely different. That one was just like, stylistically, it was very similar to my Wither song because it had like a story behind it that, like, with like a narrative that you're supposed to follow in the song. And so I went into that being like, I want to make this like a story like I did with my Wither song, except make it really, really, really good and make it about Tenna because I love Deltarune.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so those are why these past 4 uploads have been very, very special and experimental, because with the amount of time that I've unfortunately taken between uploads, I've spent that time theorizing about different styles for different songs that I think would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, like, yeah, and like, although, of course, as a listener, I do not have all of that, background. As a listener, I could definitely tell there was something.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the goal, because I mean I want it to feel different for between these uploads, or at least for these next few. So then when I come back after my 5-year hiatus, you guys aren't like, okay, this is just another ManBeHisLa song. I want it to be, this is another ManBeHisLa song, but it's really cool and special.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the goal for these next couple uploads.
And another question, sort of, this was not planned, I just thought of it with the mention of Jackpot. At the end of the chorus, there is sort of a screamo metal-y thing of you saying Jackpot.
Right?
Are you planning on doing more stuff with that, like with that type of singing?
I've thought about it. Somebody brought this up to me not too long ago, actually. I'm not opposed to it at all. I just need to find a song that I want to work on that would fit in that kind of style.
Yeah.
That's really all it would take, is I just need to find like it'd be more on the like metal side of music. And I like metal. I just don't think I'd be good at producing a metal song. But if I had the right help and the right guidance, then I think I would definitely be open to it.
Yeah. And sort of with that, like, composing stuff, one thing I was actually wondering, because I have noticed, like, one of the reasons why your songs, in my personal opinion, stand out is the instrumentation. It's a lot. It's very, I want to say unique, but that's not just it. It is not just a beat. It's like they can stand on on like the instrumentals. They can like stand on their own, in my personal opinion.
Let's go. Let's go. That makes me so happy. I'm so glad.
And I was wondering, for your composition process, sort of like, is it different every time? Is it whatever comes to mind first? Do you start with the lyrics, try to find instrumentals for it, or vice versa? Like, how does that process?
the process for me is kind of always different, but it will always start with me coming up with the lead melody, what I think sounds cool, and I'll put that down on my piano. Usually I'll start just by making a melody on my piano, or I'll think it in my head and then put it on my piano. And then I will put that in MIDI on my DAW, and then from there I will either put a bass line and then do the drums, or do that backwards, or just keep building the melody and then do the drums and then bass line and then so on and so forth. But it's usually just I will compose it on my piano first, like a rough draft of the idea that I have, and then I'll put it onto my DAW and then build it out from there. But I put a lot of stock into my instrumentals because, I mean, as a lifelong Deltarune and Geometry Dash fan, I've grown up listening to practically pure instrumentals my entire life. So songs with lyrics are like maybe like 30% of what I've listened to over the course of my 20 years of living.
Yeah.
So I try to make my instrumentals as good as possible. So if you listen to them by themselves, you'll be like, oh, this is pretty gosh darn cool.
Yeah, and also, yeah, like I've multiple times I have just listened to the Show's Never Over instrumental just alone.
Let's go.
Let me, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad. That one especially, I mean, out of every song that I've done, that one has the most complex instrumental because there's like 100-something different layers of different things doing different parts for the song because the song is 5 minutes long and also it changes like every 30 seconds. And there's a bunch of different motifs from the game and whatnot. So that one, I especially because of how passionate I am about the game, I wanted to make that one where you could listen to it and be like, this sounds like a cool Deltarune fan song, without even like having to listen to it with the lyrics.
Yeah. And I will say, sort of along those lines, you mentioned like a cool Deltarune fan song. Although I haven't listened to them the most, you mentioned The Living Tombstone.
Mm-hmm.
And like I have not really listened to the most Living Tombstone. I've started listening to more recently. Some of your stuff seems similar to that, where it's hard to explain, but like your choruses especially seem similar to that. Not copying, but just in that same vein, sort of like your choruses aren't very rap-y. It's a lot more songy.
Yeah.
And
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Oh no, I was done.
Okay. For me, the chorus is like the most important part of the song, and it's like the song part of the song. So I always think it's a disservice. I mean, no diss to rapping choruses or anything, but I always think rapping choruses will always be lesser than songing choruses, for me at least, because the songing choruses, yeah, that's the scientific terminology for that one. The singing choruses are like the thing that drives it home. It's the thing that gets stuck in your head, and it's the thing that makes you want to be like, oh, I really want to replay that part on top of the really cool rapping and everything that goes into it.
Yeah.
That's something that I always that's like the primary focus of the song. I always put the most thought into that one. I mean, I put about the same thought into the writing for the verses and the stuff as well, because I mean, I kind of have to the way that I write. But in terms of the Living Tombstone, they are, and this is very well known, they are them, JT Music, and like a bunch of different Japanese Vocaloid artists are my biggest inspirations in everything ever. So that style is just like in my bloodstream because I grew up. Who was calling me? I apologize for that.
That's good.
I grew up listening to the Living Tombstone. They were like the very first artists I ever followed. When I was 11, I think, or something like that, maybe 10. but I've listened to them for around 10 years. So it's just in my blood to make Living Tombstone inspired songs.
Yeah. And
Yeah, I don't want to like. I'm trying to make it in my own style because they're very much an inspiration, but I think stylistically you can definitely tell when you listen to it, you're like, yeah, this guy is clearly a Living Tombstone fan.
yeah, it's similar, but there is a definite difference,
Yeah.
I will say.
Yeah, that's what I want. Don't want to be too similar, but I also want to have the inspiration come through.
Yeah. And sort of, you mentioned that you want your choruses to be like, song oriented, like in your rap songs, and that made me think of this. That was I don't know why my brain turned that into a tongue twister.
Good.
My brain made me think. I thought of another question that it's like one of the ones I wrote out, but I thought it was applicable.
Uh-huh.
Are there any things that you have found that you specifically do that are unique in your compositions that are like truly you haven't really seen anyone else do them?
Not really. I don't think I'm like an innovator by any means. I just try to make things that sound cool. But I think the only really if you asked a fan, they could probably etch this out better than I could because they'll probably be like, this guy. I mean, did you see what he did with the Heartless trilogy? He thought of this thing for this thing and that thing. But for me, I think the only real like not innovative but like unique thing that I do is I will make really strong standalone. Not I don't want to sound like an egoist, but
Yeah.
I think the instrumentals are like they're pretty good, I think. But the instrumentals like where they're standalone good strong instrumentals that are really cool and awesome and stuff, and then you put like really intricate rapping on top of that and then meld those together because I don't really think there's another artist in the scene, and I could be wrong, I could very 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 well be wrong about this, but I don't think there's anybody that does it the way that I do it. And that I really do not want to sound like an egoist saying that,
No.
but
Yeah, like you do not at all.
okay.
And
Yeah, that is the
yeah.
opposite of what I want.
Yeah, and that is something that, as a fan, as someone who listens, I have noticed. One of the reasons why, like, I'm a very melody-based person. Like, I love lyrics, but if I listen to a song and there are no subtitles, I don't have the manuscript in front of me, I'm not going to perceive like 90% of the lyrics.
Yeah.
Though,
I get you.
and one reason why your songs stick out is because of like the emphasis on the instrumentals and the melody, where everything like works together. So that is definitely something I have noticed in your songs, in not many others, sort of.
Wow, that makes me very happy because I always want that to be a focus, and then I want like if you listen to it and you listen to just the chorus and stuff, I want you to be like, okay, this song sounds really cool, I'd like to check it out. And then if you listen to it and also really like rapping, because I always try to put my strongest foot forward with my rapping as well, when you listen to that, you'll be like, wow, this is a lot of really cool things. I think I'm gonna watch this guy. And then you watch all of the videos.
I mean, it worked on
the
me.
goal. Let's go. We're winning.
So, sadly, I do not have any more major questions that I can think of as of now. So, I suppose that would mark this the end of this interview. And once again, though, I want to say again, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Absolutely. It is an honor and a privilege for anybody to want to interview silly internet music guy. I am more than happy to give back to the community that has given me the opportunity to make silly anime song on the internet.
Yeah. And
So thank you for getting me on this interview, and I apologize for being late.
and once again, it is completely fine.
It's just a curse. It's just a curse. There's nothing I can do about it. The universe just does not want me to do anything on time.
Yeah.
But we thrive.
Also, and right before I go, one more question, not about the interview stuffs.
Hmm.
So, could I post this interview on, like, YouTube along with other stuff? And
Yeah, absolutely. I'm perfectly fine with that. Actually, if you do that, at me on it, so then I can repost it. At least if you post it on Twitter, let me know and I can repost it and stuff and be like, "Cool interview." Quote me on that. That's what I'm gonna say.
I will attempt to.
All right, awesome sauceum.
So, with that, I cannot think of anything else. Thank you so much, and
Absolutely.
farewell.
Goodbye. Have a good one.
Welcome back. Hopefully you enjoyed that interview. I firstly want to say I am so sorry to TheManBeHisLa for that loud motorcycle outside. Firstly, I just want to apologize to TheManBeHisLa for that question where I ask, are there any unique composition things, whatever? Because as someone who loves to compose, that is the worst question for a composer. Because it just is not a fun question to answer, and so I'm so sorry for that. That was like, I wasn't meaning for it to be a rude question, but it kind of... If someone asked me that question, I would not be able to answer it, like, in any way. And so that's firstly. Secondly, you could probably tell I'm not the best at interviewing. I tried my best, but I'm not very skilled, but hopefully I can get better as time goes on. And thirdly, to speak more on the Heartless motif, during this interview he mentions that the Yuji winning and being the one who said "you're facing me" was unintentional. Though, which I mean, I believe him, I've zero reason to not, but I will say that this makes me think of two different things. One being the idea of songs meaning different things to different people, which would definitely apply here. The second thing being that it fitting so well may not be random chance. So essentially, I mentioned earlier how the lyrics of the songs are a nice reflection of the show, which makes me think, although it wasn't intentional for the lyrics to fit so well, it, in my opinion, kind of makes it cooler that in conveying the emotions of the show, he accidentally made it work so well. So, like, essentially, the reason I brought up the word reflection that I used earlier, and like the reason I used that word earlier, is because it still is a reflection, and music is the mirror used to reflect the emotions of the show. So, long story short, I wonder if in trying to convey the show accurately, he sort of accidentally made this thing that fits so well. No, once again, not purposefully, but just because he conveyed the show accurately. And just an idea that I had. And also I will say I wrote this out and I analyzed the songs after the interview, so I already knew the answer was it was unintentional, but I wanted to bring up that songs meaning different things to different people and the reflection thing, because I still think it could work, and I definitely do want to bring up those lyrics and like how they work so well with the show, because even if it wasn't intentional, it fits so well to not bring up. And something else, kinda, it's like, I mentioned it earlier, I wish I could find the the notes to For Tomorrow and Your Enemy by ear, so I could do like the major, minor, other, etc. They both sound minor, but I cannot tell, and I've been trying to find them since before I came to college, which was around September. So if I find it, I will post it, but I don't know how long that will take me. So, hopefully y'all enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed coming up with it, and will hopefully do more like it. And with all that said, I hope all y'all observers of this content have a wondrous time of things. And with that, I bid y'all adieu. Fare thee well.